Good.
Yeah, no, let's check into the Facebook, see who's checked in this morning, and then we'll get into that story because it's kind of heartwarming. Yeah. I think. I mean, you and I have a history of animal rescue.
Yeah, we always seem to find a way to or they find us. Yeah, I mean, we literally just walk outside and there's dogs waiting for us some days.
It's been a couple of times when this show has ended, and there we are. All right, let's see.
Got the Facebook up.
If I can, there it is. Who's in this morning? Kendra Douglas, good morning. First one in, HR Hallery. Lisa Poole, thank Lisa for all the egg cartons yesterday. That was they're always much needed, and she brought me like dozens. So thank you very much. Judge Posey's in. Bobby Leister, good morning. Richard King, David Glass, still holding steady at 737 YouTubers. So good morning to everybody on YouTube. Anita Scroggins checking in. BA Strike, there's a guy who took one of the last dogs I rescued. So appreciate that. Chris Conrad checking in. Justin Glass. There's J Dub. Scott Tomko, good morning. Christina Wise. Marvin Mickish. BJ Nelson. J Dub's like, don't even start with the cold stuff.
But, yeah, I guess we don't have much on Canadians right now.
No. Ron Sitka checking in. Your wife Tiffany says, bring your pets in, please. Patrick Strauss, good morning. Monica Jost. But you and I late yesterday afternoon spent about 2 hours trying to catch a dog. And this is one that I had been slowly gaining trust for about 5 or 6 weeks. I'd spend my lunch hours with him and another one. Sasha Wilhelm checking in. Caleb's super liberal friends. So
Sasha's my blood friend. Sasha is one of my dear friends. Thank you for tuning in, Sasha. And yes, she is my liberal friend, but I love her to death just like she loves me. And we set the example, don't we, Sasha?
Richard King, we're going to get to the auction here in just a minute, but you're still the high bidder at $2,000 heading into this morning's resumption of the bidding. But you and I yesterday spent about 2 hours trying to catch this dog. Dr. Shar, I spoke with him, and he provided some sedatives. And boy, it almost helped.
Yeah, we in a little bit of back history on that. It was my wife and I, we walked through the college in the evenings to take Truman for a walk and stuff. And we noticed the dog, and I should have known you would somehow be involved with it. But we saw this dog that had been out there for several weeks. And so we started trying to build a rapport with it. And we couldn't get within 50 yards initially. And so I made a Facebook post about it. And you contacted me, right? Wait, take that down, take it down. We're almost getting this dog. And then, you and I coordinated, and we had Scott over there at Animal Control.
Yeah, really. Big shout out to Scott Animal Control, because you were able to get a trap, and that was the key. We had tried everything, and this dog was smart. I tried, the old slip lead on the wrist, and this dog would eat out of my hand. And there were two of them. I have. We called them Bonnie and Clyde, and I have Bonnie at my place now, and she's turned out to be just a lovable little, almost like a mini golden retriever. She's really sweet.
When yesterday didn't end well initially.
No,
I mean, like you said, we spent a good 2 hours out there, and if anybody happened to be in the parking lot at around 5:30ish, you might have seen me go for a good Madden tackle on that dog out in the field,
and missed.
And I missed. Yeah, I mean, he squirted right out of my arms and made the dog yelp and scared him, and he ran off.
And
we thought he was gone. Yeah,
he was gone.
Our 8:30 trip to the college, we drove in circles, looked everywhere, couldn't find him, and man, we were going to bed. I sent you a message. I was like, dude, I'm hurting over this dog. Like, I felt like I failed him. That me tackling him and sending him off running was doomed him for life. And
one of our student workers, Lauren Leslie, big shout out to her, because she's the one that first told me about the dogs that were hanging out, and she built a really good rapport, especially with this one, with Clyde. She's the one that named them Bonnie and Clyde, because there's a boy and a girl. But Clyde would follow her all over campus.
Clyde's sweet. And yeah, we finally, we were going to bed last night, and we decided to do one more run up there just to see. We really weren't expecting anything. And there he was, and he was in there. And
but I had gotten a text from you that you couldn't see him. I had gotten a text from Lauren that she hadn't found him, and we were all getting worried. And then she made another pass through, and you showed up about the same time, and there he was in the trap. And we had baited that thing he had become fond of hot dogs. We had baited it with hot dogs. I think Lauren was taking a steak over there yesterday. But
that dog was eating well. I noticed that when we were looking around.
He's not skinny.
There was food piles everywhere. Everybody in that neighborhood was feeding that dog, but he was defeated though when we got him in the trap. He just laid in there. He didn't move. We couldn't even get him out of the kennel when we got there. I mean, it was sad, but we had him. And I'll tell you what though, this morning I was almost late because walking in, he was a whole different dog. He rolled over on his back and just wagged his tail and got super excited and
That's awesome.
made my whole day. I mean, last night I was on the verge of just this sucks and was just crushed and it turned it all around. We had 2 rescues yesterday. That guy and then that big old Great Dane. We got him a home and
Good.
so yeah, we were just yesterday was a good day.
Yeah, and even more backstory. We had heard that these 2 had been dumped over a wall at Victoria College and in a kind of a locked maintenance area. And then when maintenance workers showed up on a Monday to go to work, they opened up the gate and the 2 dogs ran out. And they'd been hanging around for weeks, at least, probably at least 4 weeks that I'd been feeding him. If not, my wife had gotten involved. We even brought Bonnie back on the weekend, my wife and I, to try and entice Clyde to come, and he would come close. He wouldn't jump in the kennel with her. I mean, we tried everything. So I appreciate your efforts and Lauren's and Tiffany's and Cheryl's and
brother. It was
everybody that was involved that kept an eye on him. But what really got me worried is our soccer coach called me, I think, what was last night? Tuesday night after practice and said, hey, I think we got to step up the urgency on this one because he was out on Ben Wilson dodging cars. And it was just, so we needed to move. And
that's what scared me yesterday when I sent him off running toward, I think it was Red River and stuff. I just had the worst feeling that I scared him out into traffic and somebody hit him and I didn't see it. And
we got him. And when I took her to the vet, they thought she was pregnant. She had so many worms in her belly. That's how bad she was and full of fleas. So
yeah, he's got some fleas on him and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, that little dude's gonna be okay now. Yeah. He slept warm last night and he will be warm from here on out. Those dogs end up saving me. They have no idea. You think you're helping them, but they always have a way of just. That's why I like dogs so much. They save me, man. They save me sometimes, and so I'm happy.
J Dub just texted me, said we have no business talking about alcohol. It's going to be
what is it?
Like 40 below up there. So yeah. Kristen Richardson, good morning. Tom Price checking in. So yeah, so that's our heartwarming dog rescue story, and that's kind of how you and I initially connected. Was way back doing dog rescue stuff, and here we are, continuing today.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be continuing to do this for a long time.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, we alternate. I won't throw your count out there, your current dog count, but I was there, and we fluctuate and we go high and low on dog numbers too. And
I'm about as high as I can get.
But rescues are great, man. They're a different dog. I think rescues feel a sense of gratitude towards you, and my rescues are just the best dogs in the world because they don't want to don't put us back out there. So yeah, they rescue you as much as you rescue them. They do. So yeah, good time.
That. So, but appreciate everybody's help who helped coordinate and and especially to our spouses because they buy in and they put up with.
They help us
and and they're as instrumental in it and lead the charge as many times as not. So
yeah, she kept trimming while you and I were out running through that field yesterday and having fun. And so yeah, it's good teamwork and luckily they're crazy enough to stay with us, I guess.
So and I'll probably start a little GoFundMe for these two because to get them vetted, fixed, spayed and neutered, going to be about a $600 tab.
Yeah,
it's not cheap either.
No, they add up, especially with as many as we've done. I swear, I keep telling Dr. Mark I need a wing over there at Crossroads because I feel like I've helped build that place.
Definitely. So, Ron Koshin stopped by with Randall yesterday and talked about the 9mm handgun that we're auctioning off to raise money for a Iraq War vet who. I'm not going to give his name, but I actually know him. I've known him since he was a young gentleman. I didn't know who it was at the time. But and a lot of people around here probably would know who he is as well. But his daughter has a disease in which she ages and needs shots, and they are very expensive. As Ron said yesterday, about $8,000 every time they need to provide the shots for her, and I think they're quarterly. So what are the details on the gun? Because you have one just like
Yes,
it.
it is a SIG P365. It's a great concealed carry gun or an everyday carry gun for you. It works good for men, for women. It's an incredible pistol there, and a very popular one for SIG. It carries a lot of ammo for a concealed carry, and SIG, you can't go wrong with a SIG. They're good guns.
See if you can see the picture. It's got a Stars and Stripes theme on it.
Yeah, and that one's a painted one, so it's even cooler looking. But no, that's a good gun. And
Richard King is the high bid at $2,000. So we'll start the bidding this morning at $2,000. If you want to just post it in the feedback on Facebook, then we can continue the bidding. But we're trying to help out the veteran and his family, and through the great efforts of Warriors Weekend. So appreciate that, and appreciate your support, because that bidding jumped up real quickly yesterday. So thank you, everybody.
Priced me right out real quick because I wanted that gun. I was going to try. It got a little rich for me.
So let's take our first break. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. If you have any towing needs, it's going to get cold. I'm pretty sure they're going to be busy jump starting cars come this weekend. So give Allen's a call, 578-6300 for all your towing needs. VCS, Rocket Oil Field Services, the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer for communication needs. VCS can handle them from a brand new phone for you, for your kids' first phone, to complicated communication systems. You're building a new building and you want integrated communication systems throughout, so you can talk to everybody. Boom.
Well, today is Mr. Hartman's birthday, I believe.
It is Jim Hartman's birthday, and
so
we don't usually do birthday stuff, but definitely a happy birthday to Jim Hartman this morning.
Mr. Hartman, I got to say it too. Yep. He's a good man.
HR asked if there's a way we can donate to the family as well. I believe there is. They were setting up a GoFundMe. I believe Ron said that would be linked or shared on the Warriors Weekend Facebook page. So we'll look there, and I'll try to find it and see if we can't get it on our page as well. Good morning to my mom checking in Frosty, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Chesney Furniture Company, 116 West Swan Lynn, 101 years. They have been selling furniture to Victoria and the Victoria region, and nobody does it better than Chesney. Great service. The nice thing is, whenever I go in and visit with Bobby Leon, is the stories that he tells. And he's just a walking encyclopedia of the history of Victoria and the history of their store. It's amazing.
101 years. Yeah. He is Victoria.
Well, and he's been doing it for a long time. He's got a lot of stories, and he's got a lot of great information to share. And not only, but more importantly, a lot of great furniture at great prices, great service. They'll deliver. I can't say enough good things about Chesney Furniture, and they just have awesome selection. I've found my next sofa already.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of shopping over there, I believe.
And we missed Caldo Wednesday yesterday. I wasn't able to get there, but today is post Caldo Thursday. So stop on by for all the best Tex-Mex at Veracruz. You can even get it to go, 576-6015. You know it's going to be cold this weekend. Nothing warms the cockles like an enchilada casserole.
It actually does sound pretty dang good.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like enchilada casseroles. I like all things Mexican food, which is what gets me in trouble.
But call it in, pick it up, take it home, and enjoy the weekend with an enchilada casserole from Veracruz. So
sounds like a winner.
Yeah,
sounds like a winner.
I see our guest is here. We'll bring AJ in here in just a second. A couple of things really quick just to talk about. The NBA pressured Mark Cuban into backtracking on his plan to not play the national anthem before any games. So I don't believe it was being played before preseason games. He continued that into the regular season, and the NBA put a little full court press on him to keep it in basketball terms, and he's reversed that decision. I see Chicago teachers have decided to go back to work.
How much do you want to bet they flip-flop the NFL or NBA flip-flops back to the socially cool thing to allow it? Yeah, to allowing to not have it. I'm willing to bet they flip-flop before it comes back around.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's my wager.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Robert F. Kennedy, not a big fan, but he's been. I mean, When climate change was huge, he was the darling of social media. And now he's been silenced by social media. Instagram, the latest to remove his account. He had more than 1 million followers, mostly for his stance on COVID and vaccinations and all things related. And so they said, done.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, Gina Carano, Disney just canned her for her atrocious tweets, or I forget which word they used, but she basically just kind of questioned things. And I mean, it was nothing that deserved what she got, but here we are in this cancel culture and censorship. Fun stuff.
No, it really is. And Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees, maybe we'll get more into those tomorrow, because I a few deserving, a few I'm like, yeah, I'm not so sure. But
I don't understand the rappers in there. I mean, I do think, rap should have its category, and because there's definitely some musical ability there, but I don't understand it in per se under the rock and roll banner, unless everybody just goes under rock and roll, then okay. But rap just seemed weird in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to me.
Well, there's a few names in there that I'm not quite sure were rock and roll artists.
Yeah,
Kate Bush is another one that, I mean, yeah, I don't even know that. I mean, now you're getting,
I don't know if I know who Kate Bush is. So
there you go.
Whoops. Yeah. So that's all I got on that one.
So, but we can dive into more into those a little bit tomorrow on our Friday show, because I see AJ Louderback is here. So let's bring AJ in. We'll slide him here. We'll adjust the camera, and yeah, we'll put him right there. And for now, and we'll bring the sheriff in. You can adjust that wherever you need to, AJ. You know the drill. You know the thing. Let's see. They told me they tightened it up, so well, we might have to hold it a little bit, but it should work. It'll work. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. Doing well.
Good. Might have to get a little closer to it, but we'll figure it out. I think we're good. So, how's life in Sheriff Louderback's world? How's things in Jackson County? Going well?
Going well. Busy time.
You've made an appearance on the Tucker Carlson show earlier this week, and I thought it was a very good appearance.
Well, thank you.
You did well, and more importantly, from my perspective, not only did you do well, but you presented information that I think people need to know and need to hear, because it's, because what's been done, and I don't think people know to the effects of the memos that you spoke to and things like that on that show. So let's kind of dive into that background a little bit, because of all the progress that was made in the last 4 years under President Trump and the securing our southern border, it's been undone in the matter of 2 weeks.
With a memo, with a memorandum from David Pekoski, the acting director of DHS, Department of Homeland Security. So I find it especially alarming that the government, for 2 years of having a border that's been probably the most secure it's been in a very long time, was dismantled completely by a memo. 4 paragraphs, very short paragraphs of exactly how ICE has been essentially defunded. No real reason to defund them. We're actually going to pay them with tax dollars for services that they can't do. So, it's my perspective and in my opinion that the border of the United States is worth securing. Knowing who's in your country and how they come into your country is, to me, is paramount. And essentially one of the basics of having a country. So when I see this issue, which affects us criminally here in this area, because we live on the travel route to Houston, it's especially alarming because we know how many additional victims we're going to have. We know how much more powerful the cartel becomes with an infrastructure in Texas and in every state that's it's taking its toll. We will have countless new victims, murders, whatever. I mean, violence is the trade here.
Yeah.
With the cartel. So I find it personally alarming that a government, our government, will produce this kind of results. Reducing the migrant protection protocols that were put in place 2 years ago by President Trump were very effective on people, keeping people in Mexico from any country in South America. So when those were removed, we now are back to catch and release. We got 10 cities down there right now. The surge is here now. So it's been coming on. Do we have crime here in our area? Yes, we do. We've got an uptick and surge in stolen 3/4 ton 4-door pickups. We found the seats removed from the rear that are thrown in the ditches. I mean, this is what we had from 2008 to 2016. All this went away, and all of a sudden, through policy and memorandums, it's returned. And so I feel very strongly about the fact that we can't do anything about that. Immediate. I like to see some immediate results about this. But it's going to be a court issue. It's going to be informing the people of Texas and of the United States that get ready to protect yourself.
Well, one thing I find alarming is we can no longer deport anybody who has a criminal background, criminal history, has committed crimes, even once they're here, which I find interesting because they commit the first crime when you come here illegally. And so there's obviously a lack of respect for the law of this country right then and there. But if an illegal alien comes in and commits a crime here, they can't be deported, whether it's a violent crime, whether it's stealing a pack of gum.
There's 3 categories that in the /executive order /memorandums, which allow someone to be deported. And that is a definition of an aggravated felony, which is fairly broad, but not that broad, because it does not cover felonies. So it only covers aggravated felonies. So the crimes that are committed from that are huge. And it's a long list of that. And there's no guarantee that deportation. So when you stop people here for criminal activity or suspected criminal activity here as a Texas law enforcement officer or any peace officer in the United States, if you have a 5-time deportee, 1-time deportee that's committed that federal crime, then they're not deportable for DWIs. They're not deportable for anything other than an aggravated felony.
And maybe the laws have changed since I was a legal immigrant to this country, but in doing so, those types of crimes would have had my visa canceled and kicked out of the country as a legal immigrant to this country.
Certainly, I think we have to understand that having a green card and having visas coming, you're still a guest of this country, and that's very important for your listeners to understand that as a guest in the country, there are rules. And so,
but as a guest of this country who's been invited and permitted to stay here, you have to follow the rules and are expected to follow the rules, and those breaking the rules to get here no longer have to do so.
I don't know if Caleb's got something to point though, because you highlighted an area that yesterday I did a talk with large group of people, and there was brought to my attention about the folks who have come here illegally into this country, their voice that they carry, that they have, X amount of millions that have come in here illegally and done this correctly, on how offensive this is to them.
Down to signing a statement when we came here that we would not rely on any government support at all, or we'd be deported. We had to be able to prove that we had a job to come to, and we did. And if that was not enough to sustain us, we couldn't stay here on any government assistance.
Understood. I got the fact that we're a very benevolent country. Legal immigration is in existence today. But the Biden administration has essentially opened the border up to an open border situation.
Well, I know one of the biggest things that is the narrative and perception battle of that the left tries to use, that this is simply, immigrants that are looking for work that are coming over here. And I know that does make up probably an overwhelming number of them. But what is often, to me, washed over or even covered up is the criminal activity that you're speaking of coming across, we're told that doesn't exist. You know, when President Trump tried to point it out, he was called all these names and told he's a racist. But stripping all that out of it, it's not just Mexican citizens coming across the border. I mean, there's people coming from nations that are not our friends from all across the world that are flowing through that southern border. And we're just told it's simply people that are coming here to work, and we need to just welcome them all in. And I see huge security issues there. You know, it worries me that, you know, we were talking yesterday, we have to be vaccinated. We have all these things put on us, yet we have thousands upon thousands of people coming across the border that do not have to do this. And then you guys, our sheepdogs, our protectors, are portrayed to the public as some type of, you know, hammer that's in just to hammer these immigrants when you're simply there to protect our borders. And I guess my question is how do we combat, you know, and educate the public, you know, to what is actually happening on the border, what versus the perception and the narrative that the media tries to feed to us?
The media.
It's tough. We've had a lot of guests on here that speak directly to, from Border Patrol agents to DEA agents, former DEA agents who've told their stories, and people don't want to hear it. I don't know if it's an ostrich mentality that they can't comprehend it, but there's a faction in this country that just does not want to hear the realities of it because they'd rather it be this glossy picture and even already the narrative. Well, you know, Trump's cages are being used again. I mean, come on, really? That's the narrative in the last week or so.
You know, to prioritize to the American public the value of a secure border. Why we have to do that and why people don't pay attention to that is beyond me. I don't know that you have a country without a border in this issue. So the reality of what you and Kevin were talking about here, to me, is prioritized with the reaction from the left. For anyone who wants an open border, they've never had to deal with the realities of what we're doing. The negative outcomes that came from the policies of the Obama administration still affect people today. You know, we're going right back to those, except they've been expanded. So we actually had a document like this in late 2014 from the Obama administration called the Priority Enforcement Program, which limited ICE's ability. This is something done on day 4 by this administration. And I think we're like 52 executive orders in 16 days. You know, I don't know if that's what you call a president. You have to do that.
But I think it's also a symptom of a Congress that doesn't have any priorities to do anything other than impeach a former president.
We certainly don't have time to address that, do we?
No, not really. Peter McNally asked a question. We've heard the stories talk about the solutions. Well, enforcing laws that are on the books would be a start, in my opinion. But you probably know better than I do. But listening to the stories and the things that were working, and if you listen to the Border Patrol agents, the wall is not the end-all solution like the media has portrayed it to be, but it acts as a funnel because it's a deterrent. Yes, somebody's going to climb over it. Somebody might dig under it. But those activities can be spotted because they take a lot of time and effort, especially going underneath. You're going to get caught eventually. But they acted as a deterrent. And I remember one presentation, I think we had him, you brought him into Jackson County, I believe. And the apprehensions in that sector went up dramatically, and they were able to do it because they had less area to patrol because the wall was funneling them to areas where they knew they had no choice but to try to get through, and they could man that area successfully, and the apprehensions went up, but then the number of people trying to cross went down.
Well, I love the question. I like the solution approach to this. You tell me how that you alter an administration's political agenda. And I'll tell you that if we can't do it congressionally, which seems remote, that it's public opinion. What could force the Biden administration to take another look at this and actually consider the actual thought of protecting our border and utilizing the legal immigration policies that we have and laws that we have in effect here today. So I really like the question about what is a solution. I search for a solution every day. that I think would work and would be something we can implement very quickly and efficiently. Right now, we're in the information stage. We're doing, the Biden administration is doing exactly what it said it was going to do. So unless we get the word out, unless we get public support to a level and a degree that to have them take a look at their policies of destruction to this country, then I think that's where we are right now. Is the state of Texas going to do something? I think so. I have confidence that the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker of the House are actively engaged in this issue right now. What can a state do? What can multiple states do when they're affected by a policy of the federal government? There's some things they can do.
Because that was a question that I think Richard King had. What could the state of Texas do? Where if we feel that the federal government isn't enforcing national boundaries, could the state do something to enforce our state boundaries, which are the same?
There's some jurisdictional issues with the federal government that has handled that. There is a time in Texas, in history, where Texas took care of its border. But of recent, no, in the last 50 more years, it's all been handled by the federal government. But I believe, and I'm confident that we'll see some action by state government here, by the governor, by the lieutenant governor, especially to target. There's quite a few things. I'm really not at liberty to say right now exactly what direction they want to take. But I think there's ways to blunt the spear of the federal government and a policy that's destructive to Americans.
You mentioned that you had some ideas of solutions. What would some of those solutions be that might be effective, that haven't been tried or were being implemented and have now been cut back and should be re-implemented?
Well, it was unnecessary during the last 2 years, especially when the Trump administration really dialed down and figured out exactly what would work and implemented the migrant protection protocols. And that's exactly what they did. They protected this country, they protected the other countries who are trying to come in here. So a return to something like that would be very effective. If the Biden administration wanted to adjust a part of that, they probably could, because that was an executive order also. It takes a long time for Congress to act on any of this, and I don't think we would have the support from Congress to even do this. So it's going to fall upon the states. I personally like the idea of multiple governors combining, because the power of several states, let's just say you had 20 Republican governors, 20, 30, I think there's 30 plus now in the United States with Republican governors here. If they were to unify and make demands, there are many things that the states can do to inhibit the federal government. So the federal government needs states, and they need states' cooperation, but it's also states' rights. So, I look forward to coming back to show a later time and talking about some of those things.
One of the big things that I hear a lot is the drug problem and drugs flowing over the border. And my dad said to tell you how, he said you and him worked some cases back in the day, and he said you're a good man, and he said you're the tip of the spear and you have no problem getting out there. But on that note, 13, 14 states here in the U.S. weed has been made legal, things like that for recreational use and all that. What are your thoughts on, I'm not getting into all the hard drugs and et cetera, but would legalizing marijuana across the U.S., would that gut the cartels? Would that make an impact as far as the drugs coming over the border or helping, would that affect it at all if the U.S., say, across 50 states just made marijuana illegal? Would that gut the cartel, or would it not even make a difference?
Let's look at some facts. Let's look at some history that's already been accumulated. Let's look at some states that have gone this path of legalizing narcotics of any kind. We have Oregon, who just passed a monstrous bill for having a very small possession. It's a small amount of almost any drug is legal in Oregon now. So that just passed here recently. So the states who've gone this path, what's happened to them? Have they realized more money from the sale? Yes, they have. Are their social costs triple? Yes, they are. Are their children affected by it? Yes, they are. Do we have armed robberies? Has crime gone up in those states? Yes, it has. Colorado is an exporter of some of the fine, it's high grade hybrid marijuana. THC levels approaching 70%. That's not the marijuana of yesterday. That was 3 to 5%. So I think we'll take a hard look by the public to say, are we going to accept the money that we're going to get from this? And are we going to accept the social concerns that it brings with it? So, that could be a vote issue. It possibly could be one of your legislators that eventually brings this with the strength and the power. I don't think there's an attitude right now with the governor's office that he would sign a bill to allow sale of recreational marijuana. We have medicinal marijuana now, but I don't know that the mood exists there in our legislature to sign that bill.
I remember reading an investigative piece a few months after, or maybe about a year after Colorado legalized marijuana, and what the cartel had done was, they were cut off at the knees. So they moved into other areas. They ramped up their meth and the other drugs, but they also put the squeeze on the legal cannabis sellers and said, okay, you go sell what they're giving you to sell out your front door. We're giving you this to sell out your back door. And if you don't, we're going to burn your shop. We're going to ruin your life. You're going to be done. The cartel still put the squeeze on them. And these were stories from owners of the shops under anonymity because they didn't want to be outed and were worried. But they were telling their stories. They were in fear because this was their life. This was what they were going to do. They felt much like the mafia of the Italian mob in New York. They didn't have a choice in this. It was either do what they asked you to do or pay dire consequences. So the cartel was still getting involved in some way.
So ask yourself, the cartel, if we're not going to import marijuana into Colorado, Washington, these states that have legalized marijuana, then what did the cartel actually do? They bought property in those states and manufactured there and violate the rules of Colorado there. I don't know what we're doing there.
Well, so what is the number one? So you've got the drug thing, you've got the work, they're coming for work, they're coming for drugs, they're coming for violence, they're coming, again, I know we keep saying what is the solution and it's not a simple one, but I guess today, what do we do is I would say a large driving force of this is low information voters, willful ignorance, like he said, keeping your head in the sand and not paying attention. But if I wanted to try to seek truth, if I wanted to try to mingle my way through the mainstream media and the narratives that I'm told, where can I seek this, or who can I look to? Where are the sources that I can look to try to find the factual matters of what's happening in Jackson County, Victoria County, and locally here?
That's a great question, very broad. The thing that currently today that I'm advocating for today is information first. First, we have to have information, and then we're going to have to look for solutions on it. The solutions on how to deal with what I call a rogue administration who doesn't represent the people in this particular fashion, where criminality is actually enhanced by government policy, is flat out wrong. The solutions are more vague and very difficult in this because the scope of the problem is huge. And taking on this issue is no direct, clear answer. If there was a direct, clear answer, Kelly, we'd do it.
Yes, sir.
We'd be all over that. But it's so multifaceted. These aren't really excuses. They're actually the reality of trying to deal with something as large as this.
And a border that covers as much land from California, through Texas and through terrain that can't be easily patrolled and is inaccessible in many locations. I mean, there's a lot of challenges just in trying to secure a border of this size and the geographic diversity that.
Well, I know it's frustrating for people like myself because during the Trump administration, you watched the left-leaning states tout that they're not going to enforce immigration. We're sanctuary cities, and it's glorified, and it's wow, they're leading the charge. They're doing something honorable by not enforcing the laws. And then when the new administration gets in, then they handcuff you guys and they handcuff law enforcement, and anything you do is vilified, and it just, that's frustrating for somebody like myself to watch the law be vilified, and then when it's sanctuary city and it's ignored, it's glorified. And that's a frustrating thing for somebody that seeks truth and justice and honor, and I don't know what to do when I see that.
I think another thing that kind of went unnoticed with this is the Biden administration basically said they were going to stop even going after the businesses that employ illegal immigrants. So without the enforcement on that end to stop the supply, or at least puts the squeeze on our appearance that the jobs aren't there. So it is multifaceted, and it's got to be attacked from multiple angles. But the reality with some of that then is, and the illegal immigration is going to happen. People work under the table all over this country, and whether they're legal or illegal hiring practices do happen. But some of the narratives too that have been spun that I think need to be cleared up when talking with, especially the taking of kids from parents and separating them. They've been, from a lot of the interviews we've done on this show, those separations have happened in Central America, South America, Mexico. They've taken those kids from those families there and used them to get across the border. And in some sectors, that's been as high as about 85% of the kids were taken from people who weren't their parents.
The fraud is huge. Let me go back to Caleb's question too. A lot of this is about resource allocation. When you have the federal government in charge of the military can't become involved, and the federal government won't enforce its own laws that have been passed by its own Congress. This is why I go back to the states. This is why I say that from my perspective here, looking at this issue for some years now, there's some concern for our citizens here in Texas, in this area. If we don't get the states involved, then we don't have much of a shot here. We will simply endure, what's going on. So that's where I'm trying to head for a better solution with at least adequate resources where we can at least do something here. Multiple states becoming involved, I think, are particularly inviting from my perspective, because that carries weight. There's a lot of strength when we have multiple states who are saying, look, these policies aren't going to work for us. They're illegal. You dismantle the law in such a fashion here that you just have law nullification. And so the tactic today that I could talk about is that.
Yes, sir. And I guess that's what concerns me, because it's reminiscent to me of, Civil War type days where states' rights versus federal rights and all of that. And I'm with you. But the concern that gets to me is, okay, when these right-leaning states start, saying, hey, we're banding together, and well, then the left-leaning states are going to do the same thing. And that's what starts concerning me, is, again, the divide that starts to just, because I think it's ideology. We believe in security, we believe in laws, we believe in these, and then their version of it is different than that. And not that they don't believe, their ideology is different. And so if we're both heading to different directions, how do we come back is what scares me.
So there's a divide in the country, sure. No question about it. There's an ideology for both sides here. And the real goal is where is good public policy? I would say on the fact that where do I find common ground with someone? And I've had these debates. I have some coming up. Where do you find a common ground to begin with for public policy that benefits your citizens? I mean, that's the essence of government, is it not?
Yes, sir.
So we...
not this administration.
It remains to be seen. But it appears clearly that we have to force them to the table to have that conversation, because it doesn't do any good for us to have our ideology on the right, or call it the right, versus the left. We're getting nowhere with that. In fact, the policies of the left, in my opinion, are harming, doing irreparable harm to our country here. So there's the true dilemma that we face when government no longer works for us. And what are those things? I mean, I asked a question yesterday about how many citizens could we amass for how long to go to the border and try to physically stop people coming across. It won't work. And you're looking at you need resources. You need governmental resources to try and combat this. So I remain convinced that there's some answers out there. But this morning I don't have some information system right now that we have.
On a more personal note, how can people support you guys, and if they just want to come by and let you know that they're in your corner, or volunteer to be a force in their community, or be there for you guys if needed? What can they do to come by, shake your hand, tell you they appreciate you, or just let law enforcement know that they've got their six and they're in their corner? What's the best way to kind of make contact with you guys and just speak directly with you and show our support?
Well, thanks for that. What to me works very effectively. We have a number of people who come by offices every day. BCSO here in Victoria County has people who contact the sheriff and contact the chief of police here. We have a new chief here. They do an admirable job as he's coming on board here. But some of the things that will always work, waiving common things, just common denominators that go along. Being courteous to law enforcement, is always a good thing. I mean, it's undeniably today we have a systemic failure to hire. We don't have people coming out of high school saying, "Look, I want to be a police officer here in the state of Texas or any other state." I mean, we have a systemic issue with that currently right now in trying to hire people. So, I say that to the schools and so forth, that careers in criminal justice are still necessary, for our society. So encourage that. Encourage your friends, your children, that the criminal justice system is vital to order here in Texas and the United States. And so that message that you have is probably crucial to actually convince a 15, 16, 17-year-old male or female and say, "Hey, that may be an option for me." And that option is no longer talked about much. So, I'd like to see a recurrence of that.
Do you guys do ride-along stuff like that? If people of age and all that, can they come down and do a ride-along with you guys?
We do, but it's a liability issue.
Understood. Yes, sir.
Many agencies do not. It's a pretty thoroughly vetted system that we would look at for somebody in a patrol car.
Right, because I asked that because I know a lot of people that have taken the time to go and do that. Their perception has changed, and they realize that you guys aren't just going out there to ruin people's days and put, there's a lot more going on, and the risk factor. I know when my dad would leave and go out, and he would always call whenever there was going to be a bust or something. We would just get a call. "I just want to call and tell you I love you," and then we would sit there and hold our breaths, and there were so many nights you wondered if dad was coming home, and there's a lot of moms out there that are cops. There's a lot of dads that are out there that are cops, and it hurts us. And I'm admittedly biased because I'm the son of a law enforcement officer, but I see those long nights and those early mornings, and I see the pain that you guys come home with, the things that you've seen and had to deal with, and then to see the public, that's shielded from us, and you guys carry that on your back for the most part, and we don't get to see a lot of what you guys deal with on a daily basis, and it takes a toll on you guys. And I guess that's why I wanted to ask, because I feel one of the biggest things we can do is to get to know our local law enforcement. They're more than just the cop car that drives by. They're a husband, they're a father, they're a wife, a mother, and get to know them and know the person behind the badge, because that's somebody that's volunteered to put their life out there to protect you. And you always hear, well, there's bad ones. Well, okay, but there's overwhelmingly good ones. There's bad realtors, there's bad radio hosts. I don't know why I pointed to you. But you know what I mean.
I've been accused before, so what the heck?
But I'm rambling, but I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you as the son of a law enforcement officer, but from a community, and there are a lot of people that recognize what you guys do, and you don't get the credit that you deserve for the risks that you take. But I just want you to know there are people in your corner, and people do have your six on things.
Thank both of them very much. Thank Wade and Carter for allowing us to come on here on a fairly regular basis and try to expose things from our perspective.
Well, speaking of exposing, I think it's interesting too that all of a sudden the Biden administration, while neutering the abilities on the southern border, have actually put resources to the northern border. It makes you wonder what the heck's going on in Canada that they're so concerned about, that they're willing to put resources to secure that border against illegal immigration, but they're taking resources away from the southern border. And nobody's asking that question. And I was just made aware of that yesterday. They've put resources into observation towers and stations along the Canadian border. You got to.
Are they still training with the Chinese?
I don't know.
Because the Canadians were doing those training exercises with the Chinese,
Yeah.
And that makes me nervous in itself.
Yeah, no, there's some interesting. Callie Frommey says you could support the Victoria 100 Club if you want to do something for Victoria County, and I know they do. I know they do other stuff around the area as well. So, Sheriff, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you coming by. We're out of time this morning, but always appreciate you stopping by, and it's always informative and good to see you again. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Jackson County Sheriff AJ Louderback stopping by. Appreciate him. Appreciate our sponsors. The conversation was important, and I want to thank Atzenhofer since 1926, or atzenhofer.com, for all your new card needs, new and used vehicles. White Trash Services, give them a call for all your trash collection needs, 550-1826.
Razor IT Solutions, JP Hull is the man. Let him take care of you. And
Yeah, if you're on the wrong side of law enforcement.
Stephen
Stephen
Kidder, he's got you. And then after all that, you're going to be hungry and you're going to need something healthy. Head over to Complete 360. They got that on Navarro, and it's also the health bar that's just open. All sorts of fresh, healthy food. Go get it. Trim down on that waist. Get back in shape. And who else we got here?
Yeah, Dana Moore de la Garza for all your afterlife planning needs. If you want to take care of that before, don't leave that to your loved ones when they're grieving your loss. Give Dana a call, and she can help you with she'll answer all your questions and help you with all your needs, from the services to burial plots to cremation. She has all the answers for all your questions. So give her a call. Terry Murray, speaking of giving a call, or stop on by. Motto Mortgage for all your mortgage needs. Your dreams, their expertise, they can make it happen. They'll find you the lowest rates and best mortgage situation for your home buying needs.
Went Services. You better have a generator out there. You do
Yeah,
not
it's
want your
getting
power going out in the next couple of days. And you're going to be over at your friend's house and enjoying their generator or heater.
Exactly.
If that happens.
Went Services, and don't forget they now have plumbing services, so they can handle all your electrical and plumbing needs as they expand their offerings because of the growth and the demand, not only for Victoria, but the region as well. USA Concrete Coatings, 578 Home. Charlie Garcia and his gang can resurface and make any concrete surface better than it was, and the best that it'll be, and it'll last forever. 4 times stronger than anything on the market. Won't chip, won't peel, won't crack, won't fade. UV resistant, slip resistant if you need it. They can make it all happen. Pool decks to garage floors and everything in between. And then don't forget my lovely wife Cheryl with the Gray Barn for all your event design needs. Cheryl can handle them. 920-6803. So appreciate all our sponsors and facilitating great conversations like the one with Jackson County Sheriff AJ Louderback. We usually do them pretty good service days like today. I know they understand that sometimes the message and the information is as valuable to our listeners and to the region as anything else.
No, I know they
Appreciate
understand. I don't think there's anybody more supportive or serious about their sponsors than you guys are. And they sponsor for a reason, because they know who you guys are, and you guys do a great job. And this was a great show, and you don't often get the great Sheriff AJ Louderback on here, so you take the opportunity when you can.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. I know you'll be back tomorrow. Brent will be back on Monday. He's had a busy week with things, so started off with Monday after the Super Bowl, and then it just kind of progressed. And he thought he'd be back, and I appreciate your flexibility willing to step in.
Slide in, guys.
Really appreciate it, and we're gonna get out of here. We'll see you all mañana. Bye, folks.
See you.
And KHMC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show. We appreciate your attendance. Please drive safely. KHMC Magic 95.9 Victoria.
That was a good way to work that question about legalization in, because I mean, to be honest, I think that would. I don't know what one.
Yeah, me too. That was a good interview. Seemed like it normally
Did I
did.
end YouTube? Not yet.